Hi, everyone. Welcome to this launch live event for our online course, Design Thinking for Leading and Learning. We're thrilled to have all of you here joining us. For those of you who are watching synchronously online, great to have you here. We've already had some folks begin to introduce themselves in the forums, and it's just incredibly wonderful to see folks from Sao Paulo in Brazil, folks from Colombia, from India, from Italy, from Texas, from places near and far. So thanks so much for waking up early or staying up late to be able to spend some time with us here today to get this course started. If you have a moment, please introduce yourselves in the forum. Tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from. And if you're in some place with beautiful weather, let us know how it is there so we can be jealous of it here in cold Cambridge. And really the whole point of this conversation is to get you excited and to answer your questions and to give you some advice on starting this course, Design Thinking for Leading and Learning. So if you have questions and other things like that, please post them in the forums and we'll try to respond as we go along. My name is Justin Reich. I'm a faculty member here at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. I'm thrilled to be able to facilitate this course with a terrific team of folks who you'll meet along the way. Kelly Hirsch, Abby Maxon Carter, Liz Hutner-Lone are the other folks who you'll get a chance to meet throughout the forums who are going to help you bring this experience, along with other faculty from MIT, other current and former staff from our lab, and of course, probably the most important people that you'll have a chance to learn from over the next few weeks is each other. We believe really strongly that in our courses, we're really lucky to bring together a terrific set of educators and people interested in education from around the country and from around the world, and you will learn as much from each other if you're really active in participating in the course as you do from any of us. So one of the best ways to start getting to know each other is to introduce yourself in the course forums. So in the welcome thread there, please make sure to add your post introducing yourself. When you do so, try to give some descriptions of who you are, what kind of school you're in, what your role is in those in your school or organization, what kind of topics you're interested in. And if you do that, one of the things that'll happen is that you'll make the forum sort of searchable so that you can find other like-minded folks. So you can search for tech specialist or international school or differentiated instruction or other things like that. And you can find other learners with similar interests or similar contexts. When you make the titles for your posts, try also to make your title descriptive, rather than hi, say something that sort of describes yourself a little bit so other folks looking through can find you. If you double click on a learner's name anywhere in the forums, you'll be able to see their posts. So if you find someone who's written something interesting, you can follow up and see what other interesting things they might have written elsewhere. You can add to threads that they're on. You can send some direct messages and those kinds of things. So we really would encourage you to connect with each other in our course forums. We also would encourage you to connect with us and other folks online on social media. If you haven't tried Twitter before, this is a great class to give it a try. You can follow us at MOOCs TSL. Or me, I'm at BJFR. My full name is Blair Justin Fire Reich, so I'm at BJFR on Twitter. And those of us who are monitoring those accounts are usually pretty responsive. We'll use the hashtag DTLLMOOC in order to be able to connect with one another. And so we and other course participants want to be able to hear from you. Use the hashtag and tweet out the exciting things you're working on, share your works in progress, post questions there. It's also a great way for you to take some of the materials out of the course and use them to engage your colleagues. We also have a Facebook page at DTLLMOOC that we'll also use to post new things and share resources and engage with each other there. So those are a couple of different places in the online social media world where you can connect with each other and connect with us. The hashtag again is DTLLMOOC. You can visit the updates page in the course for all the links to different social media and other kinds of things like that. So you'll find that there. Yep, so as Shamal asks, we'll put the links to these kinds of things in the chat, and then there's also an updates page where all of this is sort of bundled up. So you don't have to take notes while I'm talking. We'll make sure that you get access to all of these things. And if you have other questions, please feel free to ask. The goal of this conversation is just to tell you a little bit about participating in the course, and then to answer your questions to help you be successful. So let me talk a little bit about our hopes and expectations for the course. A number of years ago, there was an article in The Atlantic that was called "Is Design Thinking the Next Buzzword for Education?" And sitting here at MIT, I thought design thinking is not the next buzzword for education. Design thinking is how me and my colleagues are trying to research and invent the future here. I think part of the challenge of integrating design thinking into schools, engineering systems design thinking has lots of names, is helping people recognize that these are not a set of exercises that we invented to keep middle schoolers busy. This is how the future of work is getting done. And we want to be able to share some of these practices with you. So in Unit 1 of the course, you'll have experience a unit called Meet Design Thinking, where you'll meet a number of my colleagues from the MIT Media Lab, from the Sloan School of Management, from the Mechanical Engineering Department, and they're going to talk about how they use design thinking themselves with their staff, with their students every day in the work of trying to invent new things that meet the needs of the people that we try to serve. And you'll also meet a bunch of folks from my lab, past and present, who will sort of walk you through this design thinking cycle. A sort of core idea behind design thinking is that we're interested in innovation through iteration. The way that we think oftentimes you get to really great new ideas is not by spending a lot of time thinking about them and planning them, but trying to take the kernel of a great idea and to prototype it and get it into the world, get it in front of people as soon as possible. So even if you imagine really big, capacious change, what's one step that you could take towards that change tomorrow? How could you put that into your classroom, into your school? How could you have your students put that into the classroom, into their school, and test what the results are? And then on the basis of those evaluations, see what would be the next lot, whether the thing that you tried was a terrible idea or you should go in some other new direction, or whether there's a kernel of good idea in there that you should build on, extend. So this core idea of innovation through iteration, trying to, as quickly as possible, get new ideas into the world, test them, and see how we can improve them, refine them, and bring them to life. So in Unit 1, we'll talk about sort of how to go about implementing those ideas as sort of a broad design thinking cycle, what we think design thinking, engineering systems design is all about, how we use it here at MIT. And then you'll have a choice between 2 units that you can pursue for the next 4 weeks of the course. Unit 2 is about design thinking in classrooms. How do we get students to be doing work in their class that sort of adopts this design thinking mentality of imagining new ideas, understanding people and their problems, imagining new ideas, putting these problems into the world, trying them, playing with them, reflecting and sharing about what we're learning. Unit 3 is about how we take these ideas and use them with all kinds of stakeholders, with the community of adults who work in a school, with the people around schools, with the students in schools, to use design thinking as a way of improving school communities, our process, our practices, our curriculum, things like that. To me, one of the most exciting things about design thinking is that it's both sort of a powerful tool within classroom learning to help people develop new ideas. And it's also a really powerful tool for communities and schools to adopt, to improve on their own. So by working on those 2 levels, you kind of get 2 for the price of 1. You'll have a choice between whether you just want to focus on Unit 2, whether you just want to focus on Unit 3, or whether you want to try to do a bit of both of those things. We think one of the most powerful ways to take the course is with colleagues. So if you're here on your own, we're totally thrilled to have you, and it's great to be able to take the course on your own. We found it's particularly powerful if you can find a few people in your local context to take the class with, and we call those groups learning circles. So we would encourage any of you to try to form a learning circle in your local context, recruit a few other educators or people that you work with in your organization to come join you, and to take the class together. I was just meeting with someone this morning who happened to be coming through Cambridge to meet with us. She works for a charter school network in New York City. And she had 4 of her colleagues taking the class. They met this past class, we offered competency-based education. But the idea is the same. They sort of met face-to-face 3 times through the duration of the class. They're planning on one final sort of post-reflection debrief. And the experience of learning is just sort of more meaningful and more urgent if you can do it with some of your colleagues. We have a guide called a facilitator's guide, which you'll see on the top header of the courseware, which provides you with all kinds of ideas about how to run a learning circle. So you don't have to be like an official leader or official anything else in your school to run a learning circle. You just have to have some enthusiasm for doing some professional peer learning with your colleagues. and there are sample emails to invite people, there are potential agenda for face-to-face meetings. We've tried to make it sort of as easy as possible for you to have a bunch of good ideas about how to connect with other folks. And so we would really encourage you to do that. And the facilitator's guide should be able to help you with that. If there are other questions or ideas that folks have, totally welcome to hear them. Balasubramanian, if I said your name right, which I probably didn't quite get, asks about using this course in other contexts, like healthcare or other sectors, where we find every time we run this course, we have people from places that we weren't expecting coming to join us. The focus on the course is with focusing on sort of using design thinking both with students in K-12 schools and with colleagues to improve K-12 schools. And so, but yeah, there might be people from higher education. We definitely have had people from higher education. Last year, we had a whole group of folks from the publishing industry who joined us, and they had really good experiences. So we welcome everyone as long as they know that we're working a particular way. Great to hear from Melissa in Wyoming, who's taking the class with a bunch of middle school teachers. That's a perfect group. You'll be right in the midst of things, and hopefully we'll provide some fun and engaging activities for you to do with your colleagues. And high school math teacher in Colorado, Norman, integrating this in their curriculum. Definitely the design of the class is such is that we don't want people to feel like you're going to learn stuff with us for 6 or 8 weeks, and then sometime later in the future, you'll implement this in your context. Really, we want to give you a set of ideas that you can start getting to work right away. Though, as you can probably get from the spirit of this, design thinking has a real bias to action. So we'll encourage you to take bits and pieces of design thinking and sort of put them into your practice and to create some artifacts around that. So in Unit 2, we'll ask you to try to put some things into your classroom practice or classroom practice with colleagues, and then create some artifacts that you can share with the rest of us in the forums and in other places so we can give you some feedback, help you reflect, ask some questions. In Unit 3, we'll ask you to try something new with your colleagues using a design thinking approach and mindset. And again, create some artifacts from that experience, some of the conversation tools that you used or some of the products that you created, and to bring those back in the forums to help us have a conversation about it and to give you some feedback around that. Ashish asks the question, what are the prerequisites of the course? And there are none. We're delighted to have anyone who's here. I think generally speaking, the course probably assumes that you sort of know something about how schools operate, which most people who have been to schools do. But if you were homeschooled or something like that, you might want to arrange some tours of your local school to get more familiar. But I think generally speaking, we're assuming that people don't come in with a whole lot of background on design thinking or engineering systems design. One of the themes that will emerge through the course is that almost everyone has some kind of experience with these ideas. Part of design thinking is really trying to understand people, where they're at, and sort of see their problems, not through the lens of someone externally trying to solve their problems, but just to see how they themselves understand the challenges they encounter. That when we sort of empathize with their perspective, we get all kinds of new insights into challenges. Our experience is that history teachers, English language arts teachers do a lot of work in their classes that are around these ideas of empathy. Sometimes they do less work around prototyping, testing, and refining, although some of that sort of fits in the writing process. We find that science and math educators are really comfortable oftentimes with the sort of prototype, test, try, reflect, and share. And it's adding more of the sort of empathy, imagining, prototyping components of things. So we find almost everyone encountering these ideas like sees themselves and their practice in it somewhere, and part of what we're doing is just giving a kind of broader framework. In part, what we think about design thinking is a toolkit just for solving all kinds of ill-structured problems, solving problems when it's not clear what data you need at the beginning, what exactly the solution would look like. It's sort of a toolkit, a universal mindset for approaching, as one way of approaching these kinds of challenges. Kamal talks about using this in schools and universities, which I think is great. Shamel talks about using design thinking with your logistics clients. And if you can figure out how to do that, we totally welcome you to do so. We're going to be focused primarily on school and university contexts, but glad to have people from other contexts here joining us as well. Maybe just a few other sort of pieces of advice for successfully sticking with these courses. If you keep your calendar somewhere, if you use an old-fashioned planner, or you use an online calendar or something like that to track your time, would really encourage you to set aside some time now for doing this work. So figure out where in your schedule, in your prep periods and evenings and your weekends, wherever it is, that you're going to carve out now some time to do this. And then certainly if you have a learning circle, see if you can get you and your colleagues to pick a few times throughout the course to be able to meet up with each other and talk about what you're doing and sharing. Everyone gets busy as time unfolds, and the more that you can be disciplined about carving out some time to be successful in the course, the more likely you are to be able to persist. People take different amounts of time to invest in the class. I think if you really want to be kind of like trying all the exercises, if you really want to be learning about the ideas and putting them to practice, it's usually a few hours a week to be able to do that. And then some people get super fired up about it, do more than that. We're thrilled to have anyone participate at any level. So if there are people who come in and do everything with us, that's great. If you bop in and out, if you're a sort of casual browser, we're sort of thrilled to have you here as well. Kind of whatever level works for you, we're excited to have you. If folks have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them and respond. Otherwise, it's great to be able to meet all of you for the first time from all these different places around the world, from all the different backgrounds that you represent. And we're just really excited to have you here as part of this course. In our lab, we use design thinking every day to be able to try to invent the future of teacher learning. Every week in our lab, we're talking to teachers and teacher educators about their challenges and trying to understand them. We're creating and building new things to prototype. We put those new things out into the world, and then we're constantly doing research to measure and evaluate, reflect on our results, and sort of iteratively improve what we're doing. And so, this course around design thinking for us, it's not just a learning experience that we want to share with other people, but it's really a blueprint for how our lab operates and how we see ourselves trying to make constructive contributions to the world. Jan or Jan asks a question about forming a virtual learning circle, and I think that's a great idea. If there aren't people in your local context interested in taking the class, I think to do a virtual learning circle, you just find a few other folks who are either friends of yours online, or they're people who maybe have the same kind of job or work in the same kinds of schools or organization as you. And I think the real trick is just to sort of schedule some times where you might have some synchronous hangouts, using Microsoft Teams or Google Hangouts or a Zoom meeting or whatever else you might use. Sort of plan to meet virtually a couple times throughout the course to be able to share what you're learning, watch some videos and discuss them together or share your assignments together. But yeah, it would be great to be able to do that. And then Jan also asks about wanting to contact other participants. If you click on anyone's names in the forums, you can see their whole history of posts and you can respond to those posts. You can also send people direct messages if you want to engage them that way. And then if people, share their Twitter handles or connect with each other on Facebook, use the hashtag on Twitter to connect with one another. Those are other ways that people can connect. So those are a few ways of engaging. Deepa Santosh says, can design thinking help the majority of school children cope with sort of learning? And I think, everywhere learning is full of challenges, and, design thinking is by no means a magic bullet. I would say it can help sort of in two ways. One is, if you're trying to have students do work, project-based work, problem-based work that involves sort of solving real-world problems, then design thinking can provide kind of a structure for helping people think about, both teachers and students, how to tackle those problems. So in the classroom, it can provide a framework for having people try to do ambitious work. And hopefully in the course of doing that ambitious work, they get excited and motivated to study and learn about all the other things that are going on in school that will help them do that work better. I would also say that design thinking, if one of the challenges that you're having in your school, around issues of student achievement or other dimensions of student achievement, design thinking sort of gives people a framework of saying, all right, like, so why are our students not learning, as much as we are hoping, or what are the challenges that they're having? What are the things that they seem to be coping with? How do we understand school from their perspective? What are some things that we think we could prototype that would help address some of the challenges that they face? How do we evaluate whether or not those things we're prototyping and trying are working? So I definitely, there's no silver magic bullets in this course. What it does offer, there's no recipe, there's no sort of correct way to do it, but it offers a process that lots of educators in their classrooms and lots of educators sort of in their school and with their colleagues have found powerful and useful for bringing new ideas to life, and certainly ones that we found powerful and useful in our own context. So that's a few ideas to get you started. Dave talks about integrating design thinking principles in his work at UIUC, fabulous university in Illinois. Maybe one other thing to mention is that all the materials in the course, unless otherwise noted, a few readings and things like that, anything that's created by us, unless otherwise noted, is available under a Creative Commons license, CC BY. So anyone can take any of these materials, and if you give us attribution, you can remix them and reuse them in any other context. We really hope that people will find some learning experiences that are valuable here online. We'll take those learning experiences back into the local context, and we'll, over the course of the learning experience, continue to provide more resources, starter kits, links, playlists, workshop agendas, other kinds of things to be able to help you to take the learning experiences that you'll do online with us around design thinking and to share them with your colleagues with some resources that we're supporting. Lots of this is just the start of our conversation. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your mornings or your afternoons or your evenings to be able to come and join us here. It's great to be able to meet some faces, start connecting with people. I hope you'll start messing each other, people with similar interests in things in the forums or online. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. And otherwise, really looking forward to diving into the first assignment cycle to do some of the first design thinking exercises that we'll put in front of you and seeing the kinds of things that people put together. So best of luck with the beginning of the course. Don't hesitate to be in touch with us if you have further questions. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day or evening.